kind of a new thing here. I'm going to just give you a quickie intro as to what's coming up video highlight-wise. And you may... Tucker Carlson is the guy on Fox who sort of goes after these sidebar, but no less interesting stories going on in current issues, as opposed to Hannity. Sorry, David. He knows he's opinionated. It's an opinion show. So is this. All of this digital saturation are the highlights coming up with regard to lobbying that they're spending to keep, their entrenched position and so forth. Thanks for watching. Roll clips.
All I would tell you, and you could see it in the earnings announcements, or at least in Facebook yesterday, where revenue growth is now really decelerating. And yes, it's still very admirable by kind of normal company standards. But here's my mentalist prediction. One of the FAANG companies, one of them, in the next 24 months, one of them is going to start to fall out of favor. One of them is going to turn into the IBM or the GE and the turmoil and the.
It's either going to be face dork or amici.
Well, if you're a true mentalist, you're going to obviously tell us which one is the most likely to do that.
It's full disclosure, you'll get that from me.
I'm saying don't buy any of them. I could be wrong. Of the five.
Okay.
And here's why. They don't have if you think about kind of what are the analogies in kind of regular life to these companies, here's a couple of them. Like, it seems to me that a company like Google is kind of like the electric utility. Like, it just works.
Yeah.
You don't think about it that much. They don't have a brand impression on you other than kind of competence. But if you think about something like Facebook's kind of like your cable company. Like, they're constantly trying to do something that you don't like, or sell you something you don't want, or change your channel lineup, and that ticks people off. And now they're trying to do this new thing with stories, and it just feels like it's a little bit a fashion-like, right? It's kind of like what's in today and what's not in tomorrow.
Right.
And B, it's not a good user experience. So I think they're the ones that have the greatest risk out of that.
They're also more reliant on the swings and people's emotions that lead to kind of advertisers fleeing for one reason or another. Whereas if you're Apple, you're selling, as we saw yesterday, they made a product announcement. You're Apple, you're selling real things. I mean, that's the other distinction between some of these companies, as opposed to lumping them in all together.
Charlie Gasparino with a list. People are spending, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the past, like, I covered the banks for a long time. I covered them through the financial crisis. I mean, the amount of vitriol aimed at banks in the aftermath of the financial crisis was almost unprecedented. The only thing that's coming close to that is what's going on in Congress against Silicon Valley, the big tech companies, and particularly Facebook. And if you're going to talk about one potential existential worry, if you're a shareholder or any of the FAANG stocks, it's got to be regulation. I don't think they're going to go out there and break them up, but they're definitely facing heightened regulation. The left, the progressives, the Elizabeth Warrens, the Maxine Waters, they don't like them because they think, well, they invade our privacy. They know too much. They're too big.
President Trump said the same thing about Amazon.
And conservatives don't like them. Why is that? Because they're liberally biased. So they're getting it from all ends, and they know it. And they know the midterms could have, if the Dems control Congress. Generally Republicans don't push for more regulation. If the Dems control Congress, which it looks like, I'm not saying they are, but it looks like you're going to have the Democrats control at least the House, and Republicans will keep the Senate. They could face some rocky sledding.
Unless you bring out the money shaker with salt.
Right, and that's what they're doing now. I mean, if you look at the money they've been spending, it's tremendous. Employees have given record contributions, but more than that, it's the lobbying. I mean, they've been lobbying more now than ever before. Facebook spent $21.3 million in lobbying in 2016.
Wait. Say that again. Can we put that up on the screen? Wow.
We should have it. We have banners. I'm reading banners here. $21.3 million in 2017 and 2018, more than ever before. I mean, the lobbying among with Facebook, Amazon, Google, even Twitter. We crunched the numbers. It's more now than it's ever been. So they know they're into regulatory crosshairs. And listen, this is not really a political story, I will say. And here's why I'm saying it. They face regulation. These stocks are starting to trade funky lately. I think one of the reasons why, obviously, maybe overbought. That's one thing. But another underlying fear when you start talking to big investors is what will Congress do to impact their business model? Will they do stuff that prevents Twitter from monetizing every single tweet, or forces them essentially to go out and get rid of the trolls? Will they stop Facebook from being able to squeeze every bit of information out of Liz Clayman? Can you imagine what type of psychological
Oh, the
profile
horror.
they have on you?
They'll find out I'm a Browns fan.
Browns. And you have red hair. I mean, I'm telling you, they, you know, what do I get on my Facebook page? I mean, I get a lot of like weightlifting stuff. You know what I'm saying? They do.
Because you're a roid head.
Yeah, I mean, yes, that's me. But I'm just saying that and I like food, so I get tons of food stuff, right? I like cooking, and I do a lot of searches based on cooking and recipes. So there could be a movement in Congress, and then they target ads to you, right? That's what makes them so powerful. They could target Liz Clayman. They know that you like.
It doesn't mean you gotta click on it.
Can I just
You
make
know,
a point
as part
on
of
this
Gen
Halloween, and
X,
this is-
we
do we have
built
a
the internet
soapbox
started in the
stand on
90s.
it?
I've never clicked
This
on
is
an
a
ad.
fun size.
Ever. Yeah, from
A fun
InfoSeek,
size sticker.
Excite,
There's nothing
Lycos,
fun
older search
about
engines.
this.
Never.
This, however, the bigger one, is fun. And fun is not an adjective, I know that. But why did they call this fun?
Why are you like destroying my very serious hit with this?
I
with
got
this baloney?
distracted by chocolate.
No, but see, they know that you could be distracted by chocolate. So they will bombard you with ads. And Maxine Waters, who might take over the Financial Services Committee, will make it.
It's almost impossible, in fact it is impossible for a kid to grow up in America right now without constant exposure to screens. Not only are children addicted to smartphones, but the schools, public schools especially, are filled with laptops, tablets, and online homework. Why? Because Silicon Valley pushed that on our schools. They're profiting from it. You know what they don't want? That garbage in their own kids' schools. According to the New York Times, tech elites are keeping screens out of their children's schools and teaching them to play with real toys instead of digital ones. Why? Because they know screens are poison. They should know they make them. Tom Kirsting is a licensed psychotherapist, author of the book Disconnected, How to Reconnect Our Digitally Distracted Kids. Tom, I know that you remember very well, and maybe some of our viewers will too, it was only 5 or 6 years ago that all the dumb people, the fad adherents, were telling us the most important thing we could do was to put iPads in every school in America and our kids would magically get brilliant. This was a lie pushed by Apple, and they all believed it. What do we now know about that?
We now know that that is absolutely false. Something I've been lecturing about for 10 years. I've been going out there, stomping the ground, trying to get parents to really see what's happening, what this stuff is doing to kids' brains, how that is affecting their kids' emotions, why we have so much anxiety and depression, why the suicide rate is through the roof. And now you have the tech execs in Silicon Valley that are actually preventing their own children from using these devices. And when I saw that piece, I was thrilled to hear that, because maybe now, we can educate other parents that aren't as aware as these Silicon Valley tech execs are.
But, I mean, Philip Morris executives never gave Marlboros to their own kids.
Right.
So I guess this shouldn't surprise us. What surprises me is that none of the people selling this garbage to our children, marketing it to them, pushing on them through their schools where they have to obey, are ever held accountable for what they've done. Why is that?
It's unbelievable. It's got to be. Must have something to do with behind-the-scenes lobbying and special interests and things of that nature. Now, these tech execs, if you read some articles on it, there's a large amount of students that go to the Waldorf schools out in Silicon Valley, and those schools do not allow any form of electronic devices. It's all paper and pen learning. And I think in one of them, 70% of the students in one of those schools are the sons and daughters of Silicon Valley tech execs. So that they know things that the average parent out there doesn't know, and I'm glad we're having this discussion right now.
But they sell the products anyway.
They sell
and
them
they
anyway.
don't alert the rest of us. And school district after
Yeah,
bovine
and
school
this is
district
where,
continues
this
to
sort of
believe
capitalism
the
gives
technology is the key to
socialism.
education, and they never warn
Neither one of them work.
anybody about the threat that they clearly perceive.
Right, and I work at a school during the day for 22 years in addition to being a psychotherapist. And the biggest thing that we're trying to get a handle on is the mental and emotional well-being of our children.
Yes.
So 23 years ago, it was really more about education. You'd have a school counselor that would help kids with their schedules. Now it's part mental health and part education.
Yeah, and you know what's amazing? Some colleagues of mine younger, Gen Yers, they can't even really read a spreadsheet, let alone write one, baseline, let alone construct one that's complicated,
The educators
that computes with formulas and projections and quarterly this, and P&Ls and 3-year plans. It's like amazing.
What they need to do is read more. Like my book really underscores everything with statistics to back it. We need to get parents out there hearing experts like myself discuss the ramifications, not just mental health, but also the family system. You know, when you look at families nowadays, it's sort of, I liken it like this. An average family of 4 is really more like 4 individuals living a solitary life under the same roof.
That's how it's become sad.
But by the way, people can't read anymore because their brains have been trained to read 50
World
words at a
War
time
II
by the
don't happen
iPhone.
in the next 25 years.
All of us have been. We're going to look back on this moment and say, I can't believe we were so passive in the face of something that was killing us.